Hi there, this is Pride Weekly. We'll start with Monday, all transgender news today. A US high school student said to be under police protection after a member of Utah's education board dragged her into the culture wars. Natalie Klein, who's a Republican, posted a photo of the 16-year-old online and wrongly suggested she was trans. Seemed to be implying the teenager shouldn't be on the school girls' basketball team. The child's since been threatened and abused online. Klein's apologised, but said the girl does have a larger build like her parents. They're Al and Rachel Vanderbeek, who tell Fox 13 News Utah they've been blindsided by all this.
We were never prepared for an adult to put a picture up of our daughter and use it for their agenda in a political way to elicit hate.
A following,
Yeah, to elicit hate and just cyberbullying.
Numerous calls for Klein to resign, but she hasn't. She's well known for her anti-LGBTQ+ comments on social media. A vigil's been held in Brianna Jai's hometown in the UK to mark a year since the transgender schoolgirl was murdered. 2 teenagers were sentenced to life earlier this month for stabbing the 16-year-old 28 times in the back, the head and the neck. Brianna's been remembered during a vigil in Warrington, which featured music from pupils at her school. And transgender people in New Delhi in India will be able to ride the bus for free. The government there says the community is often neglected in society and deserves equal rights. Women and senior citizens already get free bus travel there. Trans people can benefit too if they've got a government certificate that endorses their status. It's Pride Daily for Tuesday. It's thought 13 people have been sentenced to public execution in Yemen in the Middle East for spreading homosexuality. The judgment comes from a court in the city of Ib, which is controlled by the Houthis, who say they're the defenders of God. Separately, Amnesty International claims others have been sentenced to death on similar charges by flogging, stoning or crucifixion. LGBTQ+ advocate Hind Al-Ayani is from Yemen and tells France 24 it's horrible to be queer there.
They killed them, they tortured them, and in school they were telling us that a whole village was punished by God because they were gays. People think that if we accept gays, then everybody will be gay. They think that this is the right thing to do.
Amnesty says the death sentences are aimed at spreading fear and should be reversed now. For the first time, a trans man in Japan is having his gender legally recognised without having to be sterilised. That was the requirement there until a few months ago, when the country's Supreme Court ruled it was unconstitutional. 50-year-old Takakito Usui says it's profoundly moving and like he's standing at the start line of his new life. And there seem to be concerns attempting to learn a new language might turn you queer or make you an ally. Duolingo is being investigated in Russia over claims it's promoting the LGBTQ+ agenda. A complaint's been submitted over exercises on the app that make reference to being queer, like Clara met her wife Maria in a lesbian bar. Russia widened its law against so-called LGBT propaganda in 2022. And I've just realised I'm actually a lesbian now because I'm so suggestible. It's Pride Daily for Wednesday. If you want to work for the Catholic Church in Scotland, maybe don't say it's being run by a powerful gay mafia. Father Matthew Despard was suspended from his parish in South Lanarkshire for this 11 years ago. Nothing's changed since. He's still on the naughty step, and he reckons it's bullying. Claims he's been vindicated, though, in what he said back in 2013 by admissions of sexual misconduct in the church. The 59-year-old tells the BBC the Bishop of Motherwell's got a condition he wants met before he'll lift the suspension.
He wants me to make a public apology, apologising for telling the truth. He says that they're going to wait till you die, just put it to the side. That's what they do with people. They think you don't exist. It's cruel, and it's a sign of the bullying, what they've been doing for years.
Father Despard actually remains employed by the church, which pays for his accommodation, but he's not allowed to say Mass. reckons it's unjust and he's being silenced by the church. There is an apology, though, from a presenter on Poland's state broadcaster for how anti-queer it's been in the past. A journalist on TVP Info says LGBTQ+ people have been targeted for years by hateful words, and he's sorry for what he calls the channel's shameful role in this. The country was governed by the right-wing Law and Justice Party until a few months ago. They pushed lots of the kind of anti-queer rhetoric we're used to hearing, and the channel was made to reflect this stance in its coverage of LGBTQ+. And it's Valentine's Day, and if your thoughts are turning to romance, maybe you could try your luck on a queer version of The Bachelor. The show's had a few spin-offs in its 22-year history, and now producers are finally talking about one especially for the LGBTQ+. The series has had some queer influences in the past, including Australia's The Bachelorette being led by an openly bisexual woman. It's Pride Daily for Thursday. Same-sex marriage looks set to be legalised today in Greece. The country's parliament's expected to vote in favour later, giving gay couples more legal rights, like making it easier to start a family. Means Greece will be the first Orthodox Christian country to do this. Orthodox meaning strict or traditional. You'll be picking your jaw up from the floor, as I tell you. The Orthodox Church there, which calls homosexuality a sin, isn't on board. Says it'll weaken the traditional family and confuse parental roles. Yolanda and Georgia have been together there 8 years. They tell Reuters marriage just didn't seem possible when they first met, and it's hard to believe the turnaround.
We couldn't even think about it, imagine it, or dream about it. We did not dare talk about it. Only when we saw the text of the bill with our own eyes did we slowly start dreaming. In other words, we said immediately, "Great, how about May? In spring? What will we wear? Will we get flowers?"
Same-sex marriage is already legal in 35 countries around the world. Greece has had same-sex civil partnerships since 2016. A transgender teenage girl's been stabbed 14 times in northwest London. The 18-year-old was allegedly attacked at a birthday party on Saturday. It's claimed there'd been transphobic abuse. Summer Betts Ramsey, who's 19, is accused of attempted murder and having an offensive weapon. She denies being involved in the stabbing. The victim was taken to hospital, but she's now back at home. And nearly a fifth of video gamers identify as queer, but less than 2% of games actually have LGBTQ+ representation. This is what a report from GLAAD has found. They're the advocacy organisation. It also says nearly 3/4 of queer gamers feel better about themselves when they see LGBTQ+ characters and storylines. Occurs to me Pac-Man's a bit of a trailblazer in this respect, when you consider what he's been swallowing for over 40 years. It's Pride Daily for Friday. As expected, Greece has legalised same-sex marriage. Makes it the first Orthodox country, or strict Christian country, to do this, and the 16th in the European Union. On top of that, same-sex couples can now adopt. Plus, where there's a biological parent and their same-sex partner, they'll both now be recognised as legal guardians. A large crowd celebrated the news outside the Greek parliament. Among them, this man who told Reuters it's massive.
I'm very happy. As someone who grew up in the countryside, this is a dream I have waited for many years, just like all of us. Literally, I am at a loss for words. I'm no longer a second-class citizen. We had the same obligations, but now we also have more of the same rights.
Despite the changes, surrogacy hasn't been legalised for same-sex couples in Greece, and trans people there still have no rights as parents. Queer people and activists in Japan have been marking the 5th anniversary of a legal fight for same-sex marriage. They've been handing out flyers and the Japanese version of M&Ms at a train station in Tokyo to publicise the milestone. Japan's the only member of the G7 group of nations that still doesn't allow gay marriage or provide other equal rights protections for LGBTQ+ people. And in Australia, Sydney's Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras kicks off this weekend. runs for just over a fortnight and sees Sophie Ellis-Bextor headline a party on Bondi Beach a week tomorrow. Mardi Gras also includes a queer film festival, a service of remembrance and a closing party with Adam Lambert and Cece Peniston. When you're next on public transport, do tell the person sitting nearest you about Pride Daily. They won't think you're weird. I'm Kev McGrath. See you Monday.